Honestly, the last thing I expected was to see a blind drunk swordsman taking on a fierce demon deity, but Qiuyuan has shown that even though he is handicapped in absolutely every way, he is still capable of not only succeeding your expectations, but completely breaking your records. Imagine losing to a drunk in a foot race, or realizing that you actually see worse than a blind man. Wild, right? Qiuyuan is a man wrapped in mystery, but today we're peeling back the bamboo veils to uncover the legend beneath. I'll be breaking down his kit, echo options, weapon choices, and how he elevates his entire team for echo damage. My name is VoidEnigma, and we have a lot to unpack, but luckily, Qiuyuan is full of surprises, and let's open up those bamboo veils and unleash the blind fury that is Qiuyuan. Qiuyuan is an arrow sword character who mainly focuses on heavy attacks as part of his kit. He specializes in buffing echo skill damage users, and by a large margin. His outro skill amplifies echo skill damage by 50%. Additionally, he has quick concerto generation, making him an ideal support who can dish out a quick spurt of damage and buff the incoming characters. It doesn't end there though, because throughout his kit are further ways to buff the next character. His Liberation does significant echo skill damage and grants the team a crit damage buff up to 30%. This is based on the current crit rate that exceeds 50%, so make sure that you actually raise his crit rate to at least 65%. When his Concerto is 2/3 filled, he also grants the entire team an additional 30% echo skill damage. Qiuyuan also has a unique counter in his resonance skill. It will normally have him dash forward, but if you time it just right as the enemy strikes, he will stagnate the enemy and gain immunity to interruptions during this skill. Another unique perk is that if you hold down his resonance skill, he can perform swift movements through bamboo, a really cool effect. Qiuyuan has a unique forte consisting of a 3-part gauge. Each portion of its forte is filled by using basic attacks, and they all have unique interactions. Far too many to list here, but what you need to know is how his general rotation works. His rotation is quite simple. When he triggers his intro skill, he automatically generates 2 out of 3 of the gauges of his forte. Following this, you can use a combination of basic and heavy attacks to max out his forte. Once his forte gauge is filled, then he will enter into Ink Splash of Mind state, which allows him to trigger his Thus Spoken the Blade combo, which is 3 consecutive heavy attacks, all considered both heavy attack and echo skill damage, and each of these attacks are also considered as performing an echo skill. Therefore, throughout his kit, he has these 3 unique echo skill casts along with his normal echo skill for a total of 4 unique echo skills used. Once you complete the combo, Qiuyuan's forte should be filled, therefore allowing you to trigger his outro skill and buff the incoming character. Pretty cool and simple rotation. Be sure to use his resonance skill defensively to stagnate and counter the enemy, and your Qiuyuan's gameplay will be breezy. Now let's learn about his echoes, because as an echo skill meister, he's got to have some unique echo options, right? Qiuyuan's echo options are simple. Firstly, grab Fenrico's corpse from the Lost Beyond and equip him in either crit rate or crit damage. If you actually are able to get his normal weapon, then you should be able to actually equip crit damage. In other words, if you get Emerald of Genesis or his signature. Be sure to meet the minimum requirements of 65% crit rate, however, which means even if you roll the lowest value of crit rate amongst all of your echoes, you need at least one of them to be at least like 8% or so, right? This is vital to ensure that he does give the entire team a 30% crit damage buff. Otherwise, he'll be rocking the enigmatic Law of Harmony set, which has been available since like the beginning of Renacida, but it's finally found a home. This set buffs his heavy attack by 30% whenever he uses an echo skill. Additionally, with each unique echo skill cast, he will buff the entire team's echo skill damage by 4% up to 16%, being that it has 4 stacks. Since he has his standard echo skill and then the 3 moves from his Thus Spoken the Blade combo, he can easily activate the full buff for the team. You want to get arrow damage or attack for the elite pieces, and then of course attack percent for the common pieces. As for the substat priority, go with energy regen until you have around 118 to 125%, the higher the better of course. Then crit rate and crit damage, attack percent, and of course heavy attack bonus for the substat priority. Echo options are pretty simple for him, but let's talk about the weapons, because we want to hit that 70% crit rate, and these two weapons allow you to do so. Qiuyuan is a support, meaning that he doesn't always need to have the best weapon. With that being said though, Emerald Sentence is an exceptional signature weapon, granting 24% crit rate, which is perfectly aligned to allowing Qiuyuan to get 69% crit rate for his liberation buff, and it also lets him grab a crit damage main stat piece. Fitting, since Qiuyuan probably had some drunken slurs, hence why he got the Emerald Sentence. This weapon also grants the entire team an additional 20% echo skill damage, and it really buffs Qiuyuan's damage. With all of that being said though, it is a high investment to give him this weapon, especially if you had just pulled Galbrena and Galbrena's weapon. Now the next best option is an exceptional one, the standard weapon Emerald of Genesis. This grants the same 24% crit rate, meaning that you can in fact do the same things with his signature. You just lose out on the other buffs that his signature does offer, but you do get the energy regen to compensate, so that's kind of a decent trade-off, because his liberation is probably the most important part of his kit. This weapon is exceptional. It should be his go-to for pretty much every player. It's so good in fact that you really shouldn't even be equipping him with like anything else, since this weapon is easily obtainable. Every other weapon is just substantially worse, and you can easily get this standard weapon through just using your normal standard pulls. You should have at least 2 to 3 of this particular sword anyways by now, unless you're going to be swapping between your characters. The need for crit rate makes every other weapon option just bad, so stick with either Emerald of Genesis or his signature weapon. I suppose you can give him Camellia's weapon, but just why would you? Emerald is just easily obtainable, and it's an exceptional option. Being an Echo Skill user capable of unleashing 4 unique Echo Skills, and being a character who can amplify Echo Skill damage with their outro by 50%, who does this character run perfectly with? You're right. Phrolova. Phrolova even buffs heavy attacks with her outro skill, so she and Qiuyuan are just a perfect duo. Oh. And of course, I guess Galbrena is the main target for Qiuyuan's release, right? Qiuyuan is without a doubt the best character for both of these girls, as he buffs their damage by an insane margin. The 50% echo damage amplification is a massive buff to both of their entire kits. With Galbrena, he allows her to use the full power of her demon hypostasis mode as well, thanks to providing 4 unique echo skill casts, and then you could throw in Shorekeeper and that team is perfect and good to go. As for Phrolova, literally doing the same thing, Shorekeeper is just a universal option, but something a little bit cooler is to use Cantarella to have a full Echo Skill cast team. Phrolova has the upper limit of 10 Echo Skill casts to fully utilize Hecatine when she's off field. Cantarella is capable of 3, and Qiuyuan is capable of 4, so that's 7 additional Hecate attacks, all from off field. I'll talk more about this in my team's guide for Qiuyuan, so be sure to watch that right after this video. Another team where Qiuyuan lovers can have a ton of fun is with Arrow Erosion with Chikona and Arrow Rover, or even better yet, Iuno. Chikona is a great base for buffing arrow characters, and she deals consistent and persistent damage throughout her rotation, but you can also use Iuno, who also gets buffed by Chikona, and Iuno can greatly buff Qiuyuan with the 50% heavy attack amplification. The whole team is exceptionally powerful thanks to Chikona's buff, who's going to buff both of these characters, but if you don't have Iuno, then you can of course swap Iuno for Arrow Rover, and that's a suitable replacement. A very fun team and a great way to use Qiuyuan as a main carry. Qiuyuan has a surprising amount of teams available despite being quite limited to buffing Echo Skill users. This means that in the future he can probably buff other characters, but for now, let's just stick with the units that we have. He is a Galbrena buffer and a Phrolova buffer, and on the side, he can be used with arrow characters for a mono arrow team. When they asked me to make a guide for a blind drunk swordsman, I thought it would be quite the challenge, but Qiuyuan has more style and presence than any of the other characters that I reviewed in the past year, besides Jingli of course. We haven't had a man in Wuthering since Brant, and Qiuyuan does not disappoint. The only downside to him is his timing. Do you have enough Astrites to obtain him, or will you have to wait for his rerun? Nonetheless, stay tuned, as I'll be providing a team video regarding Qiuyuan very shortly for those of you who want to go in depth for the team building for him. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Are you pulling for Qiuyuan for Galbrena, or is the prospect of a main carry with other units more your fancy? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm curious to how many of you love Qiuyuan more than just for his supporting capabilities. Like the video if you found it entertaining and enjoyable, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe as well. This has been VoidEnigma out.